Pro-Vice-Chancellor and Head of the College of Life Sciences, as public orator, may I, Professor Graham Shipley, present Clive Ruggles, a candidate for an honorary degree. Clive Ruggles is a member of our School of Heritage and Culture, and as far as we know, the only person anywhere to hold the title of Professor of Archaeoastronomy. His interdisciplinary work, over half a century, has had real-world impacts on a scale few academics can boast of. While still a mathematics undergraduate at Cambridge, Clive, with 4 fellow students, published a paper in the top journal, Nature, that pointed the way to his future path. It presented new data on possible astronomical alignments of 3 megalithic sites in Western Scotland. By 1977, Clive had completed his Oxford doctorate on the physics of variable stars, but he was still interested in stone circles and the like. By 1981, he had co-edited a book of papers on astronomy and society in prehistoric Britain. 3 years later, he was appointed to Leicester's new Department of Computing Studies and published a volume of data on 300 sites in Scotland. In 1990, he helped found what became the world-leading School of Archaeology and Ancient History, pioneering the teaching of archaeoastronomy and especially the use of digital images and software in teaching. Until the 1980s, what became known as archaeoastronomy had been a largely mathematical exercise, often seen by archaeologists as an eccentric amateur pursuit. It had long been known that the orientations of some prehistoric monuments, like Greek and Roman temples and Christian churches, bore some relation to the cardinal directions northeast, south, and west, and to the movements of the sun and moon. Prehistoric circles of standing stones were a popular subject for television programs and magazines, especially when engineers claimed that they were designed as astronomical observatories, proving how sophisticated our distant ancestors were. This, however, was a largely mistaken reading of the monuments. If you take an imaginary line between 2 standing stones and project it to the horizon, you will very likely find that some object in the night sky used to rise or set in that place at some date in the past. That does not prove that the people who put up the stones had that celestial object in mind. Their sophistication was of another kind. Clive took things in a new direction, for which he and a colleague coined the term cultural astronomy, no longer limited to the distant past. He defines cultural astronomy as the study of beliefs and practices relating to the sky and the uses to which people's knowledge of the skies is put. Using both mathematical and archaeological evidence within an anthropological framework, he has revolutionized our understanding of monuments and landscapes shaped by humans in relation to the sky. Rather than observatories, they were structures meant to convey meanings. Clive's fieldwork has taken him many times around the world, investigating sites that illuminate the cosmological beliefs of a wide range of societies, for example in Hawaii, Southeast Asia, and Peru. So often and so far afield did Clive travel that a colleague once suggested, tongue-in-cheek, that the department should run a weekly Where's Clive competition based on the Where's Wally children's books. The only problem was that it was quite likely that in any given week no one actually knew where Clive was. Seriously, though, Clive's work involves not only mapping monuments and landscapes, but also learning from the people who live alongside them to see what they believe about the cosmos and how their ancestors expressed their relationship to the sky. Just this month, he has been in southeastern Taiwan, working with the indigenous Atolan people, whose homeland is the birthplace of the Austronesian language group that extends across peninsular Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands. Knowledge of the skies and navigation by the stars are fundamental to all those groups who settled the scattered islands of the Pacific. Closer to home, in 2024, Clive, with archaeologist Amanda Chadburn, published a masterwork on Stonehenge, giving a conclusive account of how Britain's most famous prehistoric monument relates to the sky, the sun, and the moon. Next month, Clive and 2 Hawaiian colleagues will publish the 3rd edition of Na Inoa Hoku, which is Hawaiian for star names. He has worked extensively with and for UNESCO's International Council on Monuments and Sites, ICOMOS, especially through his leadership of the International Astronomical Union's Astronomy and World Heritage Thematic Initiative, whose published studies cover everything from prehistoric carved bones to radio telescopes, in an effort to encourage governments to identify and protect World Heritage sites related to astronomy. Clive's talents as a public communicator are much in demand. He has served as president of the Prehistoric Society and president of the International Astronomical Union's Commission for the History of Astronomy. For the International Union for Conservation of Nature, he has been a member of the Dark Skies Advisory Group, working to mitigate the effects of artificial lighting. As a member of the IAU's Working Group on Star Names, his work is having an impact that will be permanent. They assign names that reflect the richness of world cultures. For example, the name Imai has been given to Delta Crucis, a star in the Southern Cross, and comes from the Mursi people of Ethiopia, who use this star to help monitor the flooding that is crucial for their agriculture. The underlying research on how the Mursi perceive time comes from a paper which Clive wrote in collaboration with an anthropologist, while he was himself still a research student in astrophysics. Watching the new film Project Hail Mary, it seems appropriate, indeed inescapable, that the working group should now name the real exoplanet Tau Ceti E as Adrian, the name the film's human hero bestows upon it. And just maybe we shall find, someday, that planet 40 Eridani AB is not fictional but real, and give it a name in the Iridian language that sounds like music. Clive Rocky Name Planets. I know Clive would not wish me to close without mentioning the work outside archaeoastronomy that now occupies a great deal of his time and has done for a decade. He and his wife, Dr. Sue Hills, herself a mathematician, who is with us today, founded the Alice Ruggles Trust in memory of their younger daughter, and have worked tirelessly to raise awareness of stalking and relationship abuse. Soon after its creation, the Trust received a Points of Light award from Prime Minister Theresa May. 8 years on, the Trust is having a growing impact on government policy. Likewise, Clive's astronomical work has had a worldwide impact on cultural heritage, thanks to his energy, his ability to collaborate with colleagues, and his encouragement of research, especially by younger scholars. He is, in short, the leader in his field. In recognition of this, in 2017, he was the first recipient of the Royal Astronomical Society's Agnes Mary Clark Medal for Research on the History of Astronomy, awarded to Clive for a lifetime of distinguished work in archaeology, astronomy, and the history of science. Pro-Vice-Chancellor and Head of the College of Life Sciences, on the recommendation of the Senate and the Council, I present Clive Ruggles, that you may confer upon him the honorary degree of Doctor of Science.
Morning, everyone. I came, thank you, to the University of Leicester on a 2-year contract in the year 1982. I could scarcely have imagined I'd be standing here 44 years later. Wow. It all started as a side interest. Were stone circles ancient observatories, or weren't they? Not that I didn't enjoy astrophysics, but I loved archaeology, and I was intrigued by how astronomers and archaeologists could reach wildly different conclusions based on precisely the same evidence. Wading into this sort of minefield is not short of its challenges, such as trying to get an academic job when you've got qualifications in maths and astrophysics, but no publications to speak of, and plenty of publications in archaeology and anthropology, but no qualifications. Many of you face big challenges in today's world going forward, but there's always a way. And sometimes you have to be prepared to take risks. Not that I necessarily recommend doing what I did, which was to quit a permanent job in industry, actually computerising railway signal boxes in Derby, to take a one-year temporary contract in an archaeology department in Cardiff. But I jumped at an opportunity to do something I really wanted to do, and it did work out well. One of my earliest ventures outside the UK was working on the famous Nazca lines in Peru. Out in the middle of the desert one day, there I was, following what we took to be one of the long straight lines that Nazca people built, when I unexpectedly came across a sharp corner, and then another, and then another. It turned out to be a huge, irregular labyrinth, almost 5 k's long. Nothing quite like it was known. It's quite a feeling to be there in the middle of nowhere, rediscovering, bit by bit, a structure that no one has known about, let alone walked along, for 1,500 years or more. Problem was, the next day, 2 of my American colleagues went and got arrested and put in jail. So I spent the next 2 days negotiating their release. That's another story. But because of that, we got out of that place fast, and I ended up sitting on the labyrinth discovery for 20 years until I finally had the opportunity to go back, relocate it, survey it properly, and tell the world about it. And it was while I was out in Peru in 2005 now that we discovered something even more exceptional. Around 200 BC, 13 huge towers had been built in a line at a site called Chanquilla. As we discovered, they served to mark the sun's passage through the seasons. It was a solar calendar built on a monumental scale, quite unique in the world. In fact, so unique that in 2021 it was actually declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now, most of an archaeological career is about interpreting complexity, and all too often it's about battling simplistic, "I've solved the mystery" type theories that can sell thousands, if not millions, of books. No resentment there. But there's always the possibility of a genuine big discovery, and I was lucky enough to have one. Well, this is all well and good, but what's the point? Why would anyone want to spend a lifetime doing something as esoteric as archaeoastronomy? Well, Professor Shipley has kindly spoken of some of the real-world impacts. The key word, surely, is heritage. Cultural heritage is important to all of us. It's part of our identity, our very being. Think of Stonehenge. Why do thousands of people flock there every summer solstice? Why is it always in the news? It's part of the fabric of being British. And that's why it's important to understand it better, to protect it better, to manage it better. And then there's intangible heritage, living cultural traditions. As Graham mentioned, I've been lucky enough to do a lot of work in Hawaii and the Pacific. Star knowledge was vital to Polynesian navigators and before them Austronesian navigators. Over 3 millennia, these people navigated by the stars to discover and colonize tiny pinpricks of islands in an ocean that covers half the planet. Luckily for me, my Hawaiian colleagues have been prepared to accept this Brit coming in to help them explore and understand their past. It's so important in helping them revive and nurture living traditions, including traditional ocean voyaging by the stars. I was once trying to justify myself to a Hawaiian audience and taking a fair while about it. I do that. At the end of the talk, one of them came up to me and said, "You know, we have a simple saying for all that. I kawama mua, kawama hope. From the path that goes back comes the path that goes forward." Do you know, I think that says it all. So I'm hugely grateful to the University of Leicester for supporting me throughout my academic wanderings over more than 4 decades. But I'd also like to mention particularly 2 astronomers, 2 archaeologists and 1 statistician who were pivotal along the way to helping make it all possible for me. Professors Douglas Heggie in Edinburgh, Richard Atkinson in Cardiff, and then Peter Freeman, Jack Meadows, and most recently Graham Barker here in Leicester. In just 2 days' time, I shall be back in the Scottish Islands for the first time in 30 years or more for a bit of reminiscence and a family holiday. I promise I will not be dragging them around stone circles. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.